Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, Jeff.
Yeah?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I had a little bit of stress when I got home from work this afternoon.
Yeah.
Because there was a trash can in front of my garage.
Was it a mimic? Is that where this story's going?
No. No,
Okay.
This is a tale of mediocrity. This is a tale of the war of passive aggression.
Okay.
No, it's just there. So like last week's trash day or something. Like the garbage truck. It's one of those ones with the arms.
Sure.
Where they like grab it and throw it over the thing or whatever. Like apparently it broke somebody's trash can.
Okay.
And like they kind of like kicked it along the road or something. So when I got back that day, there was a broken trash can lid, like sort of in front of my place, and then I saw the rest of the trash can a little bit ways down the street, and it was just in the middle of the road. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go pick that up.
Sure.
So like I put it back together, and I put it on the side of the street, like I put it next to like where the mailboxes are, so that whoever it was might have a easier time of finding it.
Yeah,
because I don't know whose it was. So I put it over there, and then like. Later that day, somebody had moved it in front of my neighbor's house, my neighbor's place.
Okay.
And then she moved it in front of mine, and I was like, okay, this is obvious. Okay, it's obviously not hers. It's not mine, but somebody keeps putting it in front of mine. So I put it back by the, the mailbox.
Yeah.
And then like my neighbor asked me about it, and I was like, no, it's not mine. And
sure.
But she kept saying like, well, if you need a new one, then call this. So I was like, no, but it's not mine.
You
like,
should put yours out so that everybody can see that it's not yours.
Right. Yeah. So it's not mine. Like it's not. I just put it over there because it was in the middle of the road.
No, Jeff, if you need a new one, it's okay. You can just call.
So and then it's been over there for like all week.
Yeah.
Over by the mailbox, and nobody's claimed it or anything. It's broken, so maybe they just were like, whatever, I'll just get a new one, or maybe they just didn't bother to look for it when it went missing or something.
Yeah.
But just today when I got back home, I don't even think it's trash day. What is it, Monday? No, but like unless because of the holiday they moved it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know when trash day was last week. I don't know.
Yeah, it would have just affected that week, I would think.
I guess, I don't know. But in any case, I got home today and there was a trash can in front of my garage.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the broken one.
What?
It was in one piece.
Maybe your neighbor saw another one and was like, well, Jeff does need a new one. He was complaining about that.
Like, I don't know. Maybe trash day was today or something, and I didn't realize it because of the holiday, and that's just my neighbor's one. And because sometimes like, if people like have their trash can out on the street and then after trash day goes by, like they haven't moved it up because like they're out to work or something, one of the other neighbors will move it up, towards the garage or whatever, which in my eyes seems sort of like passive aggressive jerkiness. It's like, you should be better at this.
Sure.
You should be a better neighbor because we're better because we put it closer to your house. So it's not dirtying up our street. Or something, or it could just be people being nice, But
yeah, I don't know.
It's like you never know. But in any case, like it's just like I don't know where this trash can came from. I don't know if it's mine. I don't know if it's my neighbor's. What I did is it was in front of my garage when I was trying to pull up to my garage, and I was like, oh well, there's this thing in my way. So like I moved it. When I saw it wasn't the broken one, I was like, whose is this? Maybe it is just my neighbor. So I moved it between our garages just to see what she would do.
Okay.
And as I was leaving to come here to record, I saw her pulling up. So I'm like, oh, okay. So but I drove off. So when I get back, I'll have further information as to what the heck is going on with this trash can.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, but the broken one's gone. Like the broken one's not by the mailbox anymore. And then there was this non-broken one in front of my garage. Like mine's in my garage.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what's going on, and I feel like I feel like half of my street has dubbed it my responsibility to deal with this trash can situation because a trash can keeps showing up in front of my garage and I don't know why.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man.
So that's how I'm doing, Gabe.
All right.
My life is garbage right now. How about yourself? How's everything?
Pretty good. The holidays are I mean, the Thanksgiving is now over.
Right.
We're getting into December, so I need to the next holidays.
Decemberween.
Right. So I need to start Christmas shopping. I know my wife's probably finished Christmas shopping for everybody in my family and her family and the world, but
right.
It's going to sneak up on me no matter what I do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but Thanksgiving was really nice. We had people visiting.
Yeah.
For anybody who listened to we had a couple of bonus episodes there, one of which was these 3 guests of ours,
right,
answering, just some of their own questions about D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was really fun having them over. We the arcade cabinet, sound got a ton of play. Tons of people played it.
That was a big hit for sure.
It was a big hit, definitely. We had a lot of food, although I was talking up my turkey making skills for weeks.
Oh no.
And unfortunately, I personally was very, very underwhelmed with my turkeys. I don't know if anybody else felt the same way. Nobody complained about it, but
you obviously don't think that it was up to your standards, which it might have not been. If we're going to be technical, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad turkey.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that it was. It was a good turkey.
It wasn't a Gabe turkey.
Yeah,
Gabe turkey sound.
Gobble gobble gobble. Dang it, Jeff! Now I have to come up with a turkey sound. Yeah, I had relatives coming that had been to previous Thanksgivings, and there was one year, a couple of years ago, everybody was fighting over who got to take the leftovers home.
Sure.
And this time, I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it was not my usual standard.
But that's one of the things that happens in Thanksgiving. You try a new thing with the turkey. My cousin is always trying a new thing like this. I think this year he smoked. But it ended up pretty good. But I mean, you always try something new each time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That smoker, I don't know. I'm doing something wrong with it. And so it was way, way, way more work for nowhere near the worthwhile response.
Have you looked up the reviews for that specific model or anything like that?
I mean, I guess I haven't. I mean, I've looked up other smokers, and I even talked to a guy that has not the exact same smoker, but a very, very similar smoker. And
sure.
He recommended drilling holes in the bottom of the charcoal pan, which is something I did. It didn't make any appreciable difference. I don't know. So I'll mess around with it probably until the end of the year. And then if I can't figure out how to make it work, I'll just try to sell it or something. Sell it to somebody who can do better with it than I did.
I'll ask my dad because he's got a smoker and he's done some stuff with it. So
I have a neighbor 2 houses down that apparently smokes food all the time.
Yeah,
and I just haven't been able to catch him. So I don't know. Anyway, enough being bummed about garbage and turkey and garbage turkey.
This turkey is garbage.
Yes, so you want to go ahead and get into the episode?
Sure.
Okay. Well, before we do, I'll just tell everybody to be sure to check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. They're a great podcast. I don't think they came out with an episode for the week of Thanksgiving, but I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, I'm sure they'll have another one.
Yeah.
But it's a great podcast, and Justin, Ian, and Brandon, they're very knowledgeable. They know what they're talking about. They come out with new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Mm-hmm. So go check them out, critacademy.com. Also check out D&D Character Lab. Yeah. They are a relatively new podcast that they make characters and then pretty much fight them against each other or whatever. So they're a lot of fun as well. So go check them out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Jeff.
Yeah.
I want you to roll and see how many spaces you move.
What's this? Okay. You just handed me some mismatched.
They are perfect.
No.
Some 6-sided dice.
Just some Rego 6-sided dice. Yep. I wouldn't even call these D6s. I think in the jungles I must wait because I rolled a 5 or 8.
No, it's you wait until until the dice say 5. Anyway, that's not what this is.
In any case.
Okay, so you got an 8, so you move 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my goodness, Jeff.
What?
Do you know where you just landed?
What space is that?
You do not pass go. You do not collect $200. You go directly to the Dragon's Hoard.
Yeah, that's here at InterPartyConflict. We also talk about regular board games like Dragon Monopoly.
I don't know what this is. I made it up.
I'm sure there's a Dungeons and Dragons like theme Monopoly.
I'm sure there is. I know there's Dungeons and Dragons Clue.
Oh.
And instead of someone being dead, someone is a doppelganger.
Oh.
And so you have to figure out who's the doppelganger, and I think it also includes a room and a weapon or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But, yeah. Okay, so for the Dragon's Hoard today, we have an item that was submitted by Mickey via email. Mm-hmm. This item is the deck of some things.
Uh-huh.
It is not the deck of many things.
It's just some things.
It is some things.
All right.
So he says that he loves the idea of the deck of many things, but he doesn't like how it can he doesn't like how it can break a campaign or kill a character. And I feel the same way. I think the deck of many things is a neat idea. However, I have only heard stories about how it ruined a campaign either by killing a character, making a character useless, or giving a character so much experience and gold that they might as well just make a new character and play a new campaign.
Right, yeah, even if it's some of the positive ones just end up just ruining everything.
Right. Like, I feel like the best possible result with the deck of many things is that nothing happens.
Right.
I don't understand why so many people use it. I guess it's random and therefore fun. I don't know. I don't like it.
Right. Or they bought the deck of many things like,
and now they got to use it.
Like, you know, the prop, and so
Right,
they're like,
right.
oh yeah, of course.
So anyway, but so Mickey says he wanted something similar that's fun, random, and has both good and bad effects without it breaking the game. Sure, I can get behind that.
Yeah, understandable.
He noticed that a lot of the wild magic charts have 50 different possible outcomes, which, yeah, like Wild Magic, I think like the Rod of Wonder or Wand of Wonder or whatever the heck it is in 5th edition, has a similar number of effects. So, since a standard poker deck has 52 cards plus jokers, it's not hard to just adjust it so that it fits a regular set of cards. So, he came up with this. The deck of some things is a deck of cards that you can make an Arcana check of 15 to identify what it is. On the deck is written in Draconic, spellcasters use only. Draw a card in the most dire of times. The legend says that this deck was accidentally made by a wild magic sorcerer trying to create the deck of many things. Yep. I think that's a neat idea.
Sure.
Not often do you hear about someone trying to create an artifact.
Right, yeah.
So I'm more interested in the idea of someone trying to create the deck of many things than I am in the deck of many things.
Okay.
Anyway, in order to use this item, you have to be able to cast at least one first level spell of any kind, or the card has no effect. As soon as a spellcaster draws a card from the deck, its magic takes effect. Only one card can be drawn once per round, or it has no effect, so you can't draw like a whole handful.
Sure.
Once a card is drawn, it fades from existence, and the card reappears in the deck, making it possible to draw the same card twice. Now, this item, he sent us a big spreadsheet of potential effects. I'm not going to go over all these because, like you mentioned, there's like at least 50 options.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is basically Jeff and I have just kind of picked a few that interest us, and we'll just mention those ones, and then I'll put this up in the show notes like I usually do.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to check it out can.
So yeah, nothing that's gonna like outright completely kill your character, but it's gonna have some negative effects. Like there is one that's just like a fireball is cast at your position.
Pretty much, yeah. You cast fireball as a 3rd level spell centered on yourself.
Yeah, and I mean like that could definitely do some damage. It could possibly kill you.
Yeah, possibly.
But I mean, in some cases, it might save your butt because you might be surrounded by enemies, and
there you go.
You gotta have like you're out of everything else, so you might take some damage. You might even be downed, but maybe not dead. But you could save the day doing that. Yeah.
One that I think is neat is it's the very first option. You gain 2d10 either GP or XP, player's choice.
Yeah, which
that's fine with me. In the deck of many things, there's the one that's you like gain a whole bunch of experience and you gain like thousands of gold in treasure or magic items or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And that's I guess that's fine, but like I don't see that being in most of the time when it gets used, that's going to be something that's going to unbalance the campaign because it's probably a low level party.
So I mean, like 20 GP. That's I mean, you could. That's not a small amount of money as far as like the the normal like an everyday NPC or something. So
sure.
So like if you just conjure 20 GP out of nowhere and like you're like, oh well, I didn't have this before. I don't really need it. Here, I'll throw it in this like donation thing at the local temple or whatever.
Sure.
And you get some something positive out of that. I don't know.
It's something that you can use for role playing purposes,
right?
As opposed to like if you suddenly have 5,000 GP.
Well, obviously you're gonna go buy.
You're gonna try to do something magical with it, or like I don't know, build a stronghold or something. You're not gonna do something role playing wise. You're gonna do something.
I think in most cases I choose GP over XP just because like 20 XP isn't gonna make the biggest difference.
Yeah,
especially because most of the time we don't count XP like to the number.
Right.
We more go by like milestones in usually.
Yeah, a lot of people do, and I honestly I think that's probably a better way to do it. But anyway,
what was? Oh yeah, there is one that you are immune to the effects of alcohol for like 5d6 days. I think it was.
Yeah.
So you're just for like maybe a couple weeks. Alcohol doesn't get you drunk. You don't get alcohol poisoning or nothing, which like for some people could be like, oh, awesome. So I can win like, drinking contests really easily. Go. But for like, the functioning alcoholic, they're like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, but you're the best drinker ever now. No, I'm the worst drinker.
It kind of reminds me of, in an offhanded way, in the movie Constantine, there's a part where this guy who is like an alcoholic or something, he gets cursed. And the way that it manifests in the movie is that he suddenly feels incredibly thirsty and he runs into a nearby convenience store, grabs a bottle of beer, opens it, and tips it up to try and pour it into his mouth, and nothing comes out. And then like he drops it, it shatters on the floor, or pours out all over the floor. He does it again. And then, so that's what he is seeing happening, is that he is unable to drink. However, to everybody else, he is drinking all that alcohol, and then he kills himself because he's drinking himself to death.
Oh, wow.
If I'm remembering that scene correctly.
I mean, but that's pretty, yikes.
Yeah, anyway. But yeah, I could see someone like wanting to get drunk, and they can't.
They can't.
It is, this thing is forbidding them from doing it. Another one that I liked was roll a d10. Your age changes by a number of years equal to the roll. If the roll is odd, you get younger, minimum 1 year old, so you can't, make yourself unexist or something.
Right.
If the roll is even, you get older.
Right.
And that's a powerful effect, but more a role playing thing than a mechanical thing.
Unless you're drawing that like 3 or 4 times in a row, that's not going to have like a major effect.
Sure.
But like the odds of that are pretty low. Similar one is a D12, and you're going to that's going to change your height.
Yes.
So if it's, I think it was evens, you get taller, and if it's odds, you get
shorter. Yeah.
So like you can get up to a foot taller with that by drawing a card, and like so you're a halfling and you get a foot taller. You are a 4 foot halfling. It's ridiculous.
And then if you're the person who's trying to win that drinking contest, and you just keep drawing cards, suddenly you're like a 12-foot tall 4-year-old.
Right.
And you just want to drink, and now you realize you can't drink because you're too young.
Because you're too young. Yeah, you're under the legal age.
Yep.
Oh, no.
Another one.
I didn't think of that.
Yep. Another one is you cast Polymorph on yourself. If you fail the saving throw, you turn into a sheep for the spell's duration.
Oh, no.
So that's bad, of course, but it's not as bad as, you now have like a demon lord that is trying to kill you or something.
So yeah, now you're a 90-year-old, 2-foot tall sheep.
Yes.
Who cannot get drunk.
There you go.
But is 20 gold richer.
Yeah.
Making a pretty good character here, I think.
Yes, we are.
There are some other silly ones. Your hair falls out but grows back within 24 hours.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's terrifying but funny.
I think there's another one. You can't speak for the next minute whenever you try pink bubbles float out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So getting back into like the like wild magic surge type things where a lot of them are just kind of like a cosmetic thing. So
yeah, and then like there's a few more like mechanical function ones. Like I think there's one that's like casts like lightning on like up to a certain amount of creatures of your choice or something like that.
yeah, and then because this is based on using a deck of cards, if you pull a Joker, you regain all expended sorcery points or one expended spell. So I mean that could be really useful, especially because you have to be a spellcaster in order to to use this.
Yeah. So like a lot of cool stuff. Nothing too crazy that it's gonna ruin the game.
Yeah, I would still consider this an artifact because you can use it forever.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like
But
it said you can use it every round.
Yeah, once a round, and then
yeah, that could be powerful.
Yeah, I would just only give it to. I would probably give it to a low level party, and then see what happens.
Yeah, because I feel like giving something like this to a higher level party, like
a lot of the more noteworthy effects are going to be
something they can duplicate.
They're going to be more underwhelming.
Yeah. I guess even if they still have it from a lower level adventures or something like that, it might be something like oh no, we used up all of my spell slots or something, and like I need to do something. Draw a card. Oh, okay. I'm a little bit shorter.
Sure.
but it could be okay, like mirror image. You know, I'm like okay, I have mirror image, so I less likely to get attacked.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I think that'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard today. If anybody wanted to submit items for us to discuss, questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they do so?
They can send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com.
There you go. All right, you want to get into some questions?
Sure. All right, our first question comes from Brandon Dorff. Hi, Brandon.
Yes, he was one of the friends that came to stay with us.
Yeah. He asks, what is a good way to have your table set up, play environment-wise? Whiteboards, gridded battle mats, dungeon tiles, constructed miniscapes all seem to have their advantages and disadvantages. Which do we prefer?
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of options out there, and you're gonna get out of them what you put in, I guess. Some of the options are more expensive. The more expensive options are probably gonna be easier to use and so on.
Sure.
But yeah, we can kind of just go through it. I'll just say I have a vinyl battle mat, a vinyl battle mat with a grid on it. On one side, it's got a square grid. On the other side, it's got a hex grid. That's what I use. I've used it for years. I've had to buy a few of them because I think like one of them I lost somehow a whole long time ago. If you're just getting into the hobby, they can be a little pricey. I mean, it's probably going to be, for a good size one, it's probably going to be like $30 or $40.
Yeah. It seems pricier than they should be, but I guess, I don't know, just materials, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you can go to, a lot of hobby shops will have, they'll have like, you can sometimes get like irregular ones, which maybe were printed wrong or cut wrong or something like that. If you do have a gaming store near you, check and see if maybe they have any, on clearance or whatever. If not, you can probably look online for irregular vinyl battle mats.
Right, it'd be a little bit cheaper that way.
Yeah. I'll actually say that when I first started playing the game, I think the group I played with used some sort of a battle mat, but I was in high school. I didn't have the money to buy one, so I made one. What I did was I just got a big sheet of poster board for like just a couple bucks at, grocery store or craft store or whatever. I then drew a big, 1-inch square grid all over it, and then I just got it laminated.
Right. And
laminated sheets of poster board or whatever, it's going to be a bit harder to draw and erase stuff on it. I think we used dry erase markers, and dry erase markers were kind of hard to erase off of those. But if you get a vinyl battle mat, you don't use dry erase markers, you use wet erase markers, and they tend to come off pretty easily.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, if you want to just spend, it cost maybe like $10 altogether to make a battle mat of my own.
Yeah.
So that's a good option. You can use a whiteboard. Here's actually something that in recent years that I've gotten more interested in. You can, if you go to like Home Depot or Lowe's or just some other like home improvement store, you can find in fairly large sizes, you can find, I want to say it's called like white paneling or something. The name is escaping me, but I will find it. I will find a link and I'll put it in the show notes. You can get whiteboard material in very, very large sheets for really cheap. And if you get it from somewhere like Home Depot, you can even have them cut it to the exact size you need it for free.
Sure.
If you purchase it. So you can get a big sheet of it. It's not going to be magnetic like a lot of whiteboards are, but you can get basically a big giant sheet of whiteboard material that you can do whatever you want with for way, way cheaper than actually buying a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Because whiteboards are ridiculously expensive for what you're getting.
Sure.
But for maybe $10, you can get a sheet of whiteboard that's like 5 feet by 3 feet or something.
I guess it might be tricky putting a grid onto it or something, but
that's true. I do have one of these that I made that I basically just used like an X-Acto knife, and I drew out a grid and I very carefully like just cut lines into. That was a lot more work, and I don't know, it's not necessarily ideal because then because there's cuts in it, whenever you draw on it with a marker, it's going to sort of mess up the tip of the marker.
Yeah. I guess there's some way there's some ways to put a grid onto it. I don't know, if you take the time with permanent marker or something like that.
Well, permanent marker is tricky because there are ways to get rid of permanent. Like if you use a Sharpie, for example, if you use a Sharpie on a material that is not meant to have Sharpie, if I'm not mistaken, if you go over it with a dry erase marker, it'll get rid of the Sharpie.
That's true.
So using a dry erase marker on a material that you have used Sharpie on would kind of be counterintuitive. So, I mean, but there's got to be some sort of a marker that you can use that will permanently, permanently mark dry erase. Or a whiteboard.
Find somebody who has a laser cutter or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
So, be creative with it. Again, the more work you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. You might just have to deal with every now and then it's going to mess up the tips of your markers, or every now and then you have to redraw the lines, whatever. There's, there's ways to, and we'll even talk about some other ways rather than just drawing directly on the.
Or heck, go Warhammer style and don't do grids. Just get a measuring tape.
Yeah, that's been one thing that has made me not want to get interested in Warhammer. Anytime I see people using them, I'm like, how do they know where their units are and where they have to be? And
I mean, you have to go by actual line of sight. So if there's an obstacle in the way and that unit clearly cannot see that other unit, they can't attack it. And it's there. There's a lot of rules. I played a round of it yesterday even, and there's a lot more rules than I guess I expected there to be a lot of rules, but there's I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
On top, speaking on that, full scale miniscapes and stuff like that, those are really cool. But then they take a lot of time or money, or you put a lot of detail into them, but you might only use them once.
Yeah, if you're playing a game like Warhammer, you'll probably get a lot of use out of them. I mean, I think. Again, I don't play Warhammer.
Yeah, because it's usually just a few pieces, and then you arrange them differently to make it a different terrain or something like that.
But yeah, I'm always seeing on Reddit and on Facebook and stuff, people will post pictures of someone that clearly put 20 or 30 hours into making this elaborate miniscape with a city and then a cliff and all these trees and buildings and stuff. And it looks awesome. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It looks awesome. I would love to play a game on something like that, but I would never do that myself because I'm going to be putting in all that time and probably a whole bunch of money and a whole lot of effort into making this thing. I then either have to have a place that I can easily store it, which means I'm going to have to use up a lot of space for storing this big giant thing.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to have to use that all the time. Hey guys, it's another encounter at this cliff face with the waterfall and the two trees.
Yeah. Just pretend that the two trees are stone columns, and pretend that the waterfall is actually it's acid. Ooh.
Right. And it's it's kind of the whole miniatures thing that we talked about on a few episodes, including our first episode, I want to say.
Maybe.
Oh. I totally, all the power to you if you want to put in the time and money to make or buy miniatures. Mm-hmm. But if you don't use that miniature every time, it might start to feel like it's a waste. So either you're going to have to use those same monsters all the time, or you're going to have to start saying, oh, well, this goblin is actually a kobold, and then this goblin is actually an orc, and so on. Same thing with this. You're either going to have to use it all the time, or you're going to have to use it for things that it's not supposed to be, or you're going to have to put in a ton of money and time and not necessarily get all that back.
Or, just go full theater of the mind and not have anything.
That's definitely another option.
I feel like with theater of the mind, I'd at least want like a small piece of grid and maybe a couple miniatures or something to be the characters or something, if for more like complex maneuvers or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that when you're trying to like specifically hit a certain amount of enemies or something with like a cone attack, and you want to make sure that's that or if the DMs try to like explain the positioning to the players and they're not quite seeing it or something like that. Just something you can throw on the table for like a second, be like, you're here, he's here, there's a thing here, take your turn. Okay, that's all we needed it for, and that's fine.
Yeah. So. Yeah, theater of the mind is a fully valid way to play the game. Mm-hmm. I personally, if I have an ongoing game, I tend to use a battle mat and grid. If I'm doing like a little one shot, like my things at the library, I do theater of the mind just because it's easier, it's faster, and but the thing is, when you're running a theater of the mind game, you kind of have to run your game a little bit differently.
Yeah,
you have to try not to use things that require precise placement. If there's going to be a breath weapon, you probably have to err more on the side of, well, it just hits everybody, rather than be like, well, it would hit you three, but because I'm picturing your character as being a little bit further away, it doesn't hit you or whatever. It gets a little odd the more tactical you try to be.
Yeah, it could be like the players enter a room, okay, you all get hit by a breath weapon, and the rogue goes, no, I snuck around the back. It's like, oh, did you say that before I said the breath weapon? Like, but, and so you get into that whole argument, like, no, my character would have been doing this.
Right.
When, or it's like, do you go like, oh, you didn't say that, or oh, or oh, your character would have done it anyway, or something like that.
Right,
so right. I don't know. Those arguments always kind of irk me, I guess.
Yeah. Justin from Crit Academy, he prefers theater of the mind, and he's got a pretty good reason. His reason is that when he sees a battle grid, he feels more restricted in terms of like what is in the environment. For example, I think an example he's used is, he says like, okay, if you draw out a kitchen, if I look at that map of the kitchen, I'm just going to assume, okay, what's on the map is there and there's nothing else. But if you say to me, you're in a kitchen, what do you do? Then, he says like, I'm going to be thinking, okay, I'm going to grab this pot off the wall, I'm going to smack him with it, or I'm going to like grab that boiling water and splash the boiling water on him. So for him, it's easier for him to come up with creative things to do when it's in his head rather than when it's drawn out on the table.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel differently, but that's definitely a valid way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's all up to you people out there, you players and DMs, to figure out what's the best way for you.
Yeah.
Now, just a couple more options that we didn't really cover is similar to using a gridded battle mat. You don't necessarily have to use a battle mat. I own a digital projector in my basement. I have like a little home theater setup. When I first bought the projector, one of the reasons that I wanted to have a projector was to use it for gaming.
Sure.
I thought it'd be really cool if I could project an image of the battle map, if I could project an image of like what the tavern the players are in or whatever. I've been in a couple groups where people do that, and it's really, really cool. When you're able to get it working, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool because then, number one, you don't have to deal with miniatures at all unless you want to. The DM can just have his computer hooked up to the projector and then have like a little token, a little digital token for each player. And then I think one of the groups I was in that did this, the players could actually, if they had a computer with them, if they had a laptop, which I didn't at the time, they could connect to the server or whatever, and then they could move their characters to where their character was going to be.
Yeah.
And then when you have this sort of a setup, there's different programs. I'll try to find one or two to put in the show notes. You can set it up so that your maps have like a fog of war, so that only what the players can see, or only what the characters can see, is visible. So if the characters haven't been around the corner, then around the corner will just be fog. So they won't know that there's actually a bunch of monsters there unless they move their character around the corner, and then they can see it. Mm-hmm. So that's a really handy thing. Because one difficulty of using a big battle mat is that you kind of, you have to draw everything out. So you either have to draw out the big giant map ahead of time, and then the whole time the players are playing, they can see this giant map, and so they know where all the twists and turns go.
Sure.
Like kind of I was talking about in an episode a long time ago about mazes.
Yeah.
I really don't like mazes because, one of the easiest ways to represent a maze is to draw it, but then if you draw it, the players can see it, and then it's not a maze anymore.
Right, yeah.
And so you either have to draw out the battlefield, or you can like draw it out and then cover it up. I think when we played the Shackled City with Jay a long time ago, he like had it all drawn out, and then he would just like, he had sheets of paper covering it, and he would like pick them up as we went. I've mentioned this on a previous episode, but what I like to do, it is a lot more work for the DM ahead of time, but you draw out each section of the map on a clear sheet of plastic. Like you can get those like sheet covers, those plastic sheet covers. Get those, draw out each section of the map, each room, if you can fit each room on one of these. And then when the players enter a room, you put down that piece of the map. And then because it's clear, you can put it directly on the grid, and it'll line up with the grid.
Yeah.
And then you take away the room that they're not in anymore. That way, whenever the players are seeing it, they have to remember what the previous rooms are, or else they can just see the room that they're in.
Sure.
So, that's a handy thing if you don't have a digital projector. I haven't actually used my projector for this. I honestly don't know if I ever will, because I like where the projector is in the home theater. We just won a television. There's a local local business, Big Mo's Kitchen here in Garden City, Michigan, that had a big giveaway for Black Friday. They had they put up this ad saying, "Hey, everybody who likes and shares this ad will get entered in this drawing." And my wife won it. We won a 40-inch flat screen TV.
Nice.
And I mean, to be honest, we didn't need a 40-inch flat screen TV. We already had one in the bedroom, one in the living room. But, this one is bigger than the one we have in the bedroom, so we just put it in the bedroom. But one idea I had was if I wanted to make a gaming table, which I would like to eventually. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do for it yet. But one thing a lot of people do is they build a TV with a little rectangle hole in the middle that they can put a flat screen TV into.
Sure.
And then they, similar to the projector, they just hook it up to their computer, and then they just put maps onto it, and then it's right there in front of the players as a map.
Yeah.
And then if they want to use miniatures, they could just set their miniatures on the screen, preferably on like a sheet of plexiglass or something.
Yeah, put a little glass over it or something like that.
Yeah, or similar to what I said with the projector, you can use a program to give like little digital miniatures or something.
Yeah.
So you can use those, a projector or a flat screen TV built into the table or something. You can use those to recreate using a battle mat, and then that gets rid of the cleanup, gets rid of a lot of the issues that comes with using a battle mat. But it's a lot higher buy-in. You have to spend a lot more money and possibly work building a table to accommodate that.
If this, if playing these games is your jam and that's all that is your recreation,
right?
That's a decent investment because that makes things cool and easy to put together. But and then obviously you could do any combination of any of these suggestions, in any way that if a situation calls for a more detailed little miniature and you have them on hand, go for it. Mm-hmm. Or if you'd rather just describe what the players are seeing and, when it comes time to needing a grid, pull a little sheet out or something. Yeah.
It would be a lot of work to make this work. But what if you built a miniscape out of just some white material, and then you could project different images onto it? I mean, it would be the same kind of landscape, but instead of being a waterfall, now the waterfall is acid.
Right.
Or something like that.
Or, the next time Windows, Microsoft does one of their presentations where they keep trying to convince you that some sort of Surface computer is a good idea.
Right.
I feel like it's just every other year they Microsoft is trying to make a Surface sort of thing. Or they had one recently, I think last year, last couple of years, there was one where it was a very lackluster presentation of you put on a headset and you can see a hologram on a table basically.
Yeah.
It's it's like a virtual reality, but a user interface in the what's the word? Augmented reality.
Sure.
And one of the things they showed was somebody playing Minecraft on a table. Okay. And I was oh, that's really cool. Good thing. Too bad that's never ever going to happen.
Yeah.
It's it's just a demo, and that's never going to be something that I'm not going to be able to buy that. Like I'm not gonna, I have to spend like $1,200 just for the headset or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe in like 100 years, it'll be possible to have like VR headsets for everybody, and then you'll be in what looks like, a 3D space, and you can interact. I did see a tech demo that somebody was making where
go full like Ready Player One or something.
Right. I saw a tech demo where it was for some fantasy game where like a dungeon master essentially was able to build a dungeon using VR. So like he was in a virtual space. He could use his, hand things to like make a hallway and then make a room. And then it even worked so that he could make himself. So like if he was playing online with other people, they could see him as a monster or as like an orc or something. Yeah. And then when he talked, the orc would move its mouth.
Right.
And I think that's a neat idea, but I guarantee you it's a very long ways off before something like that is practical.
Yeah, and I mean, like VR has made some steps, and like there is some cool like creative stuff for VR that you could if you put enough time into it, you probably could make something interesting. But like, it's not like super user friendly, and I don't know. There's not a whole lot of like tools available that'll work. I don't I've had ideas of like, build a dungeon in Minecraft, and then have it have it there to sort of show, I don't know, just not as like a full detailed rendering of the dungeon, but more just like
some sort of a representation.
Yeah, a fun little interactive map. And I think that was one of the ideas I had for a maze dungeon, where it's like you're doing it in the perspective of Minecraft character, so that way. Like, okay, like there's 3 passageways. So, okay, we're gonna go down the left one, and then and then like each room is numbered so that the DM knows what's going on in that room or something.
Sure.
But it's more just a like, okay, where you want to go next,
Yeah. Oh, and sorry, just one more thing. I don't want to seem like I'm disparaging people who do put in a lot of work into building miniscapes and such. I was just saying that like I wouldn't do it.
Right.
If someone made. Here's the thing. So I was saying, like, if you make, like, I've seen people make, like, a town, and it's like, oh, well, great, now we have to use this town miniscape all the time. Just being perfectly honest, I would love to play a campaign that all took place in one town.
That'd be neat.
That would be awesome if the DM was able to pull it off.
Sure.
However, I would not try to do such a thing because I know that's beyond my ability, and that's a lot to take on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Like, yeah, we're not saying any one of these things is particularly like.
Yeah, none of these is better than others.
Yeah.
Just if you can experiment with whichever ones are within your means, see what you like doing. We've actually, you can do these a lot cheaper too. I know like our friend Steve has talked about, he's built little miniscapes out of Legos.
Legos. I mean, like there's lots of like board games that have their own sets of miniatures and little miniscapes and stuff like that. You could always borrow from that. Heck, I think there are board games that are basically a dungeon, you build a dungeon in a way, like the zombies game.
Yeah, almost. Zombies is pretty good. You just reminded me. I have a board game called Dungeon, Dungeon with an exclamation point. It's made by TSR way back in the early
I think I know what you're talking
times.
About, yeah.
And it is a big dungeon. It's a big dungeon with a whole bunch of rooms. Each room, when you enter, there's like. You flip over a card and it's a different monster, and then you have to roll a certain amount to kill it. There's even a version of this game. There's a advanced rules for it that is essentially D&D light.
Right. Yeah.
And like it's really really cool. And you just gave me the idea. One of these days, I should run a game where I just have your players go through that dungeon, and then when you flip over a card and there's a monster, I just play out an encounter with that monster.
Sure, yeah. It's an easy way to like at least play some form of D&D.
Yeah, from time to time. That's a cool idea. I should do that. Even it comes with miniatures of different characters, and in the basic rules, the different characters don't. They're not any different, but then the advanced rules, they each have like different abilities and stuff. When I was a little kid, my brother Tim, who I interviewed on the podcast, he painted all of the miniatures, and they look so cool.
Yeah.
That was one of my first introductions to tabletop gaming and stuff.
Yeah. I mean that's another thing. If you really like painting miniatures or making miniatures, which like is always one of those like fantasies of mine to get into miniature building and painting. Yeah. But it's not like it's something I like the fantasy of doing, but I don't think I'd want to actually do it.
Sure.
But who knows? I always think about things and never try them. So who knows?
Yeah,
But-
I put on my Amazon wish list for Christmas a miniature painting kit. So
Sure.
if I get it, I'll test my hand at trying to paint a couple things.
There was a long time ago where me and my dad used to make little models and paint them and stuff like that. Like I think there was like an aircraft carrier one that we made together that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I've got right around the room here. I've got a whole bunch of like Gundam models that I put together, but I've never.
Oh yeah. Fun fact for everybody: every time that we're recording, I'm always staring at Gabe's Gundams.
Yes,
because they're right behind him.
What's your favorite one, Jeff? I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'll just tell everybody they're from Gundam Wing, and all of them are the like models that are based on they're based on the Gundam Wing Endless Waltz models, but they're a combination of the Endless Waltz models and the design of the original models as well.
Nerd.
Sorry.
No,
it's the only Gundam series I've ever been able to be interested in.
Well, yeah, Gundam. I like the first and only real Gundam series. Well, actually, what's the one with Shining Finger?
Oh, that's G Gundam.
G Gundam. That was another one I saw.
watched a couple episodes of that.
Yeah. Is that Death Scythe? Is that?
It is. It's the first Death Scythe.
That's the first Death Scythe. I always liked Death Scythe because I don't know, because he had a big green scythe, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. Yep, that's what I'd use.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a cool one. At first, I always really liked Heavy Arms because I thought it was cool. He had like a ton of guns.
All right, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think overall, I would say I don't actually have a good quality model of this. I have a crappy one over there. It's lying down because it fell over. But Tallgeese 3 from Endless Waltz is probably the one I like the best. It is itself a combination of the Epion Gundam and the Tallgeese 1. I have the Tallgeese 1 right here. I'm pointing at it for all you listeners out there. Tallgeese 1 is pretty good, but I really liked Tallgeese 3 because it's also got like the whip. And anyway, this is I'm probably going to cut all this part out. I don't know.
This is miniature conflict.
Interminiature conflict.
Yeah.
Yes.
So where we pit miniatures against themselves.
Yes. I should use one of these as a monster in a D&D game.
Sure.
As like a gargantuan titan or something.
Titan, a golem of some
golem, yeah.
Crazy advanced golem.
Right. Anyway, where were we?
Okay.
Talking about board games and stuff. Where did we go off the rails?
Where have we gone today?
So yeah, there's a lot of different options out there. If you want to, there's a lot of ways to do like lower tech versions of just about all of these to give you a taste of what it's like. The more money you put in, the more time you put in, generally the better experience you'll have. But you might be fine with just Theater of the Mind. Theater of the Mind costs nothing, and the only time it takes is to learn to do it well.
Sure. Our next question comes from. All right. Well, I'm gonna take a few passes at this.
Okay.
King JX, or King J EXE, or King J Executable. Because I think that's what EXE stands for, right?
Yeah. I've always just been reading it as King J EXE.
Okay. All right. Well, take your pick, whoever.
Sure.
So I'll just say, next question comes from King J.
There you go.
King J asks, this was on Reddit, what factors should be considered when thinking about becoming a DM?
Yes.
This was submitted on Reddit, so Gabe usually likes to try and help answer the questions on Reddit when they ask them, just so they're not left waiting for us to answer.
Yeah, because I never know how soon we're going to get to these questions.
Exactly. So Gabe has a few things to respond to this.
Yeah. So I gave him a few answers. I tried coming up with something better, but in the end, the answers I gave him on there are pretty much the best ones. So there's a few things you should consider. The first, I'll have these in order of least important to most important. The first one is, do you have a story that you really, really want to tell? Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a story that you've created. It really could be a pre-written module or campaign.
Yeah.
Could be just like you read a story and then you really wanted to run it. But before you run it, you got to make sure that it's something you really, really like. It would really suck to put a lot of time and effort into a campaign and then get halfway in and then realize that you don't really care about the story. It's going to come out in the game. The players are going to notice it. It's either going to feel like you just don't care very much, or it's going to come out it's going to feel like the campaign has no focus.
Right.
When I ran the Age of Worms,
dang,
when I ran the Age of Worms, it was because I had a subscription to Dungeon Magazine at the time. And so I got several issues of this adventure path that they had just started. And, the first few issues I didn't really care about. But then there were 2 issues that really caught my eye. The first one, well, the latter of the 2 I noticed first. They had this really cool picture of this dude in armor holding a green worm in one hand and this really badass looking weapon in the other hand. It was this like long haft that had like a morning star on the end, then like a pick along the shaft, and then like an axe blade on the other side of the shaft.
Yeah, I like that. I picture it like a halberd, but you have a big spiky ball at the top, and then like a pick coming out the back of it or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. And
so it's a bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing.
Well, it had bludgeoning and piercing.
Right. Yes.
Slashing, or piercing and slashing.
Sure.
So you had 3 different combinations that you could do. And apparently when they were making whoever drew this picture, he was just like, let me just give him a cool, unique weapon. And like me, so many people really liked that picture so much that they gave it stats in a later issue. They called it the Executioners Mace.
Sure.
But seeing that picture made me be like, oh, that's a really cool picture. Let me see what this adventure is all about. So I read the adventure. Then I was like, this is kind of cool. Let me get a little bit more backstory. So I went to the issue right before that. And the issue right before that actually dealt with something completely different. It was kind of like there were like 2 plot lines, and these 2 adventures dealt with different plot lines. But the one before the adventure ended with the players finding these 2 swords that when used together were like, they gave the player like these really cool abilities they could use. And so they were these 2 swords. I think it was called the Lightning Sword and the Sword of Aqua, AQAA. And so anyway, seeing those 2 swords, I was like, man, those are some cool swords. And so like I read that whole issue, and that whole issue was not quite as good, but it was still pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Then I went back to the beginning and I read all of the adventures up until, the most recent one. And I was like, this is a really cool story. I really like this. I really want to run this.
Right.
So then I called you, I called Jay, I called Steve, got you all together, and I was like, hey, I really want to run this adventure path.
Yeah.
And, maybe I should have kept this a little more secret, but like I showed you guys some of the pictures and stuff.
Sure.
And Jay saw those 2 swords, and he was like, I want to make a character that uses these 2 swords.
Want those.
And so his whole character concept was he was a paladin that then multi-classed with monk that used 2 swords. Mm-hmm. And, it was really cool. I mean, none of us knew where the story was going to go, so it's not like too much could really have been spoiled.
Sure.
But that made all of us really excited about running this adventure path.
Yeah.
So, yeah, number 1, make sure you have a story that you really, really want to tell. I don't expect you necessarily to be as excited as I was, but just if you have a story that you're like, this particular story would be really fun, that's a good starting point. It's not the end of the world if you don't have a story you really want to tell. If you just want a DM and you don't care what it is you're running, that's fine. Any kind of enthusiasm is going to be good, but it's better if you do have an idea of what you want to run, just so you know that you have a goal. Even if you're going to deviate from that goal, just having a goal is a good starting point. Mm-hmm. So the second thing that you should consider is, do you have the time to put in the prep it takes to run a game?
Right.
Now, running a game, it can take a lot of prep. It doesn't have to. And the more you do it, the easier it'll be. So the more you do it, the less prep you'll have to put in. Mm-hmm. But DMing, it does take time. It does take more time than being a player.
And obviously, if you don't go with like a pre-made adventure, that's even more time.
Exactly.
You have to do all the writing and everything.
Right. So if you don't think that you'll have enough time to give it what it deserves, or focus to give it what it deserves, then I would say maybe put off DMing until you do. Now, King J EXE kind of made it sound like he's a player in a group that is thinking about also transitioning to becoming a DM. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, then maybe just like volunteer to run a session or 2 every now and then, rather than just jumping right into DMing. Yeah. Just so you can get a feel for it. If you are the only, if it's either you be a DM or you don't get to play, then, that's not ideal, but hey, that happens to all of us. So, similarly, if you don't have a lot of time, you can still run a game, but the quality is not going to be as good as if you did have time to put into it. So, again, similar to the last one, if you can do this, better. If you can't, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but maybe if you have another option, try another option.
Sure.
And then the last one, the most important one, is a question every DM should ask themselves. Do you want to be a DM?
Right.
It sounds like King JEXE does, but if someone is DMing just because they have to, because, nobody in the group knows how to play, and, well, somebody's got a DM, again, that happens.
Yeah.
I think all DMs have probably been in that position at some point or another. But if you're DMing because you have to, that's fine. That's possible. But you are going to have a harder time getting as excited about it as if you were doing it because you really wanted to. A lot of DMs, myself included, started DMing because they had to and then found they really liked it. So this is not a condemnation of that. But you should ask yourself, is this something I really want to do or something I'm doing because I have to do? Not that either answer is a deal breaker, but you should know that when going in. You should know, I'm doing this because I have to. Let me make the best of it. Let me find ways to get myself to like it more.
For sure. I've always kind of toyed with the idea of doing some DMing. But again, it's my fantasy versus my actual desire to, desire to do it. Like, in my mind, it's like, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. But then I get into like I have to actually sit down and read an adventure and do all this. It's like I'm pretty lazy. I'm not super proud of it, but it happens. Whatever. But I mean, you gotta really want to do it, and you gotta have the time to do it, and you gotta have something in line, like either an adventure that you've read and you really like, or maybe even just a book that you really like and you want to tell that story at least in a different way, in a different way. Or heck, we've talked about like copying things. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Go for it. As long as you're not expecting to make money off of it and record it or something.
Yeah.
Like
if you watched a movie and you're like, oh man, that would be really fun to try running that as a DM.
Yeah.
Go for it. If that's something that you want to do, then try to find a way to turn that into a D&D game. If that will get you excited about the game, do it.
Yeah, if that gets you excited about DMing, that's the way to go for it. Like, that's probably one of the easier ways to do it, to get into it, is find a movie or a story or a comic or whatever that just like, it's like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome as a D&D game. I'm going to run that. Let's do that.
Absolutely. One thing that just came to mind that I'll actually say might seem like it's something that you should have, but it's actually not. You might be concerned that maybe you don't have enough experience, or maybe you don't know the rules well enough.
Sure.
Having experience and knowing the rules are good, but not having them doesn't mean that you can't be a DM.
That's true.
The first person to ever be a DM did not have experience with the game. That's not how the game works. So, there are lots of groups where the person who's DMing, it's their first time playing the game. It's the first time anybody in the group has played the game. And that's fine. Just accept the fact that you're going to make mistakes from time to time.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a little rough starting out, but as long as you have a story you want to tell, you're willing to put in the time, and you want to do it, you'll find a way.
Yeah, for sure.
So don't be discouraged if you don't have the experience or you don't know the rules. Sure, it's good if the DM knows the rules better than everybody else at the table, but
things will go a little bit smoother.
Yeah, but they don't have to be.
Right.
We've talked about rules lawyers. Rules lawyers, they're your friend. If you are a person who doesn't know the rules better than someone else, ask them the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, make it clear that if you disagree with a rule, you're going to change it, and that's fine. Just
don't stick to that change.
Exactly. And don't change the rules if the whole party is against it. Don't be like, hey, I'm the DM, I'm going to do what I want.
Right.
A good DM is going to change the rules as he sees fit, but
you got to read the table.
Right. Yeah. A DM who doesn't listen to his players is, in my opinion, not a good DM. So yeah, just if there's someone at the group that knows the game better than you, that's great. You have a great resource right there that can help you do the rules, better than you might be able to on your own.
Sure.
So don't be afraid to ask someone for help. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Nothing else comes to mind. I think, yeah, just make sure that it's something you want to do. Make sure it's something that you are excited about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enthusiasm will go farther than just about anything else.
Yeah, maybe some good improv skills.
That's definitely a good one too. Again, it's
not crucial, but
it's not crucial. You will get better at it as you go.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it yet, it's probably going to make the game a little bit rougher starting out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But hey, just a willingness to try
Yeah.
That's probably the most important thing anybody can have.
Absolutely. Yep. You might find out that you're really good at it and you just really like doing it.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for questions. Let's take a moment. Let's take a deep breath. Mm-hmm. Might be a little hard with all that, turkey that's probably still somewhere in your floating around your bloodstream. It's a gross image. So yeah, just let's take a moment. Let's clear our minds. Let's think about the people who have come before us, people who have maybe given their lives so that we may have a better world, as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre.
Oh no, that was a trick log.
Oh no. All right, so this story comes from Brandendorf. He's been listening to our podcast from, I think, right from the beginning, or at least very, very close to the beginning. He's submitted some stuff over the months.
Mr. Dorf.
Mr. Dorf is my father. So he actually, okay, confession here.
Oh yeah.
He sent me this funeral pyre story back when we first started the funeral pyre, like a long time ago. He sent it to me on Facebook in a Facebook message. And
so this is like vintage funeral pyre.
It is. And I completely forgot about it.
Oh, sure.
So, Brandon, I do apologize. I did go back because, another thing, in my defense,
right.
He sent it as an audio file because rather than typing it out, he just like recorded it and sent it to me.
Right. So you didn't have it on your handy dandy list, or
right?
Anything.
And so that that was cool, but I was not used to seeing that, so I completely forgot about it. He reminded me about it when he came to visit. So again, I apologize, but we've got his story here. I'm going to be paraphrasing it because again, it wasn't in text. But anyway, so Brandendorf says his first character death was during his first campaign. He had been playing for about a month and a half, and someone broke into his car.
Wait.
So like out of game, not in game, out of game. Someone broke into his car
while they were playing.
No. Like someone broke into his car and stole a bunch of his stuff.
Okay.
Among the stuff that was stolen was all his bag with all of his D&D stuff.
Oh man.
So, he probably hadn't been playing long enough to know, like, oh yeah, keep like a digital copy of it on the internet somewhere or something.
Oh sure.
So he lost his character. He lost all his character's information, and that really sucks. Hey, my condolences. It sucks to have someone break into your car. It sucks to lose, D&D stuff aside, that sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, sorry that happened. But anyway, they were able to work that into the game, actually. I guess around the time that happened, the party had reached like a big teleportation circle or like a teleportation portal or something. Mm-hmm. And so when the party went through this portal, they decided that something went wrong, and his character, a monk, was disintegrated by the teleportation.
Yay.
So, it sucks that his character died, but hey, they were able to work it into the campaign. And hey, he says it wasn't all bad. As much as he hated losing the character, he loves making new characters.
Right, yeah. Making characters is always fun.
Yeah. So hey, way to make the best out of a crappy situation. Sucks that happened, but at least you were able to do something cool with it.
Yeah.
So let's raise a glass, and let's raise a glass to turning bad endings into new beginnings. Clink. All right, well, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, a running list of questions asked, and important links, go to interpartyconflict.com. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, or our subreddit at reddit.com/r/interpartyconflict, where I post weekly discussion questions for you. We're also on Twitter at InPartyConflict. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube. Anywhere you download podcasts, please rate, review, subscribe. Just tell a friend if nothing else. If you feel like donating, we have a PayPal donate button on our website. Anything you can give us would go towards making the show better. Jeff, you want to tell us about FriendQuest?
FriendQuest is our channel on YouTube. If you, I believe if you search FriendQuest and Tower of Doom on YouTube, it should show up. We got a Tower of Doom playthrough, and we have a Shadow over Mystara playthrough.
Yes.
Which are both games that Gabe has on his cool new
I do. The thing is, all of the ROMs that I have of Shadow over Mystara are only 2-player.
Yeah. So if anybody knows how to get a 4-player,
yeah, I mean, maybe it's that something needs to be done with the files I already have, or maybe I need to get a completely different file. Yeah. I don't know.
But in any case, if you want to go see us play those games, go on YouTube, look up FriendQuest. I'm trying to get a better link for it, but we have to have more like subscribers and stuff or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But in any case, maybe look forward to more games on there at some point.
Yeah, it's been really tough to find time. I think we might even just start like recording solo things on our own time and then putting them up there.
Yeah. So and then when we got time, we'll probably put some. Well, I think we're gonna have to play Crawl.
Definitely. Oh yes, I forgot to mention that. In a previous episode, I mentioned Crawl. Jeff and Brandon and JT and some our friend Peter was over. We played Crawl. In group, we couldn't play all 4 of us because one of my joysticks doesn't work with the game. But we were playing 3-person Crawl for a while. It's a lot of fun.
It's a blast. That is a fun game.
Yes,
I figured, like looking at the game, I knew it was going to be a good time, but that was a good time. Even though like for like the first half of us playing, like I was never the human. I was still having a great time.
It's still a lot of fun. Some of those monsters are so cool.
They're so fun.
Oh my goodness. Anyway,
so many tentacles.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes. Head over to audibletrial.com/conflict and get yourself a free audiobook. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from. I guarantee you'll find something you like 100% for free. It's yours forever. And also, if you do it, we get free money.
Yeah.
Also, if you go to bit.ly/InterPartyConflict, take a short survey, takes just a couple minutes, and you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, till next time, pick a card.
Oh, all right.
Oh, no!